Hello friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story about self-checkout shenanigans that escalated quickly. Sir, I didn't take your money. More self-check shenanigans again. I only had a few minutes left on my shift when the store got slammed with people. My supervisor popped over originally to do an observation on me, but seeing how busy it got, decided to help out instead. While she was working with one customer, I had an older guy walk up who had a bag of dirt in his car. I greeted him and offered to help him since he was looking at the self-checkout machine like it was a bomb. Guy: Ma'am, I don't know how to use this. I don't understand how these work. Me: That's all right, sir. I can grab you right quick. I scanned his bag of dirt. Total came out to $20 roughly. Guy: How much is it? Me: $20. Cash or card? Guy: Cash. Takes out his wallet and hands me a $10 bill. At this point, I assumed he was getting other bills out, so I insert the $10 as we chat about technology. I tell him I can barely figure out my phone. This is very sad but true, and he tells me about not being totally computer savvy. He still has his wallet out and is digging around in it before he closes it again. Guy: Miss, could I have my receipt, please? Me: Sir, you still owe $10. Guy: I gave you $20. That should have paid for it. Do you need change? Me: No, sir. You still owe money because you only gave me a $10. Guy starts getting agitated. You entered it in wrong. I only have $20 bills. Me, trying to think of how to explain this. Sir, there's no way for me to enter it in wrong. The machine scans the bill as I put it in. See? Indicates the screen that clearly shows $10 has been entered. Guy: You took it then. I only have $20 bills. Me: Sir, I didn't take your money. You handed me a $10 bill and I inserted it for you. Guy starts to look through his wallet again as he repeats that I took his money. Me: Now I'm starting to get annoyed. If you don't believe me, I can get security to look at the footage and confirm it if you like. Guy starts almost yelling at this point. I didn't ask for that. Ma'am, I didn't ask for that. Me, at this point, I just didn't want to deal with him anymore. Sir, I'm sorry, but I can't help you anymore. I didn't take your money. At that point, I walked away as my supervisor took over to talk to the guy. I helped a few other customers and then went to go clock out. I could hear the guy still complaining and ranting over the supposed theft. He eventually left, but I saw him come back in and talking to one of my managers about what had taken place. I didn't get in any trouble or anything. My supervisor assured me she'd watched the whole thing and wasn't quite sure why the guy was so insistent I took his cash. She watched him take the bill out of his wallet, hand it to me, and saw me insert it into the machine. So yeah, that's it. I mean, unless the guy was pulling a very poor attempt at a bait and switch at the self-checkout. I'm the customer, so I'm automatically right no matter what. Stop making your machine lie for you. The customer's always right, and that's me, so I can't be wrong. And our second story. Customer gets mad because I didn't answer questions she didn't ask. Some context. I used to work at a store that specialized in accessories. We had a buy 3, get 3 deal on hair accessories and jewelry. Gotta emphasize this, it was exclusive to jewelry and hair accessories. It's also pretty important to note that this store was incredibly understaffed and I was often there by myself on our busiest days. It was a small store, but that was still super overwhelming and stressful. Usually on those days, I'd have a hard time focusing on any one thing and I'd keep interaction with customers to a minimum because I was bouncing around the store trying to do a dozen different things at once. I imagine there are some people here who can relate. This started on one of those days. I was there alone on a Saturday. Like usual, I was busy and juggling a lot of different things. This woman and 2 girls, who I'm assuming were her granddaughters, come in. I wasn't paying much attention until they were ready to check out, and this is very important to keep in mind. They didn't approach me or ask me for any help while they were shopping. They had 4 accessories and 2 pop sockets. I checked them out and they head out. Normal transaction and my day continues. I was at work the next day. The woman from the day before came in. I greeted her, not really recognizing her until she walked up to me and told me she'd been there yesterday. She told me she looked at her receipt from the other day and realized the total was higher than she expected it to be. She said she didn't get a discount, she thought she was supposed to, and then pulled out her receipt. I looked over it and told her that the deal only applies to hair accessories and jewelry and that pop sockets weren't included in the deal. And honestly, I feel like that should have just gone without saying. Pop sockets are phone accessories. They're not something you wear on your body. and there were a ton of signs around the store that said buy 3, get 3 hair and jewelry. Signs didn't just say accessories or imply that anything else would be included, so I'm getting a little annoyed, but obviously not saying anything. I apologized to her, as you're always required to do in situations where the customer feels even slightly unhappy, and she looks me in the eye and says, "You need to tell people that." Keep in mind, not only was I really too busy to pay attention to the one family while they were shopping, but this woman hadn't asked me any questions about the deal. She also didn't say anything when she was checking out, and when she was told what her total was, she apparently couldn't be bothered to notice what her total was until the next day. She looks me dead in the eye and tells me several more times before she left that I need to tell people that. I get that this woman was annoyed that she spent more money than she wanted to, but I still got pretty annoyed. Was she expecting me to read her mind and know she was trying to get that discount? Moral of the story? Pay attention to your total while you're shopping, read signs, and ask retail employees questions about discounts so that you buy the right things instead of getting mad at stressed out minimum wage workers and lecturing them about how to do their job. Also, pop sockets aren't jewelry. Seriously. The customer in this post is upset because she can read but actively chooses not to read and takes it out on others? And our next story. Boat rental rebellion. I live in Hampton Court on a nearly derelict boat with 5 other people. The owner insists we have no rights because we're renting on a boat, which he claims is classified as a vehicle. A few people missed a monthly payment because they were vacationing together in another country, and he went crazy. The owner was harassing us before, but now he's gotten more brazen. He's cut off our water and demanded we work for him in exchange for rent. 2 days ago, he tried to break into our boat while very drunk, and 2 people had to hold the door closed to keep him out. There's also a lot he's doing illegally, like not declaring part of his income from renting to us. Just to clarify, this is in London. We spoke to the police about his attempted break-in, and they said we should have called them when it happened. Just their presence seemed to start a bit of a panic on his boat. He's had dealings with the Environmental Agency, EA, but they seem powerless to stop his shenanigans beyond handing out fines. The last court case he had with them resulted in a fine of about £16,000. They charged him for every email he sent during the case. He writes one-sentence emails and sends over 100. It didn't change anything, though. His family owns a large sheep herding company and sends him money whenever he loses a court case. I imagine he's the black sheep of the family, which is probably why he's here while the rest of them are in the southern hemisphere. None of this is about money for him. It's just a personal power trip. The rent probably doesn't even cover his drinking habit. The thing is, he's never had to deal with the whole boat resisting him before. It was easy for him to kick someone out and everyone else would fall in line, but now we're all standing together against him. Realizing we needed help, we contacted several tenants' rights organizations and legal aid services. We learned that despite the owner's claims, we do have rights as tenants, even on a boat. We gathered all our documentation, including proof of rent payments and records of the harassment and water cutoff. With this evidence, we approached a legal aid clinic, which agreed to take on our case. They helped us file a formal complaint with the local council and the police outlining the owner's illegal activities and harassment. The police also started a formal investigation into the attempted break-in and harassment. The presence of legal authorities put additional pressure on the owner. The Environmental Agency also stepped in more aggressively, leveraging the new evidence we provided. They partnered with the local council and police, forming a coalition to address the owner's ongoing violations and misconduct. In the end, the owner was faced with significant legal consequences and financial penalties. He was ordered to make necessary repairs to the boat and provide a safe living environment for us. The court also granted us a form of protected tenancy, ensuring that we could not be evicted without a proper legal process. And our last story. Entitled dude thinks they rented the whole park. I'm at a city park with my kids. We've been to this park a bunch. There's this one spot where there's a rocky hill, all tree covered, nice and shady on a hot day. There's a playground and a pavilion at the top of the hill. We get up there and I immediately notice loud noises and I'm having to step over cables and extension cords. Someone rented the pavilion and set up not 1, but 3 bounce houses around it. Effing great. So I have to give the disappointing news to my kids that even though they're surrounded by bounce houses, they cannot play in them since this is a private party. But they're free to go hit the playground. Everyone's cool. I sit on a bench as my kids go to town on the fake pirate ship when I hear, "Hey!" That's when entitled dad, doing his best to imitate the situation from Jersey Shore, walks up to me and informs me that the playground is closed for a private party. I look at him and inform him that the public park does not close for private parties, and it sounds like he rented the pavilion nearby, which is fine, but doesn't give him exclusive use of the neighboring playground. He storms off and returns with a rental agreement and shoves it in my face, telling me to get my effing kids and leave. Right, so rental agreement is very clearly for the pavilion, all for the grand sum of $35 for 4 hours. How could any sensible adult think that $35 granted you exclusive use of a public playground? Moreover, why is it so important for you to have exclusive use of a public playground? I, again, point out to him that he rented the pavilion, not the park, and my kids won't go on his bounce houses, and we won't go into his pavilion. But the playground is fair game for everyone. He begins hurling threats, and I'm weighing just taking my kids and leaving to avoid this a-hole. Then I decide I need to take a stand on principle, so I tell him to F off and proceed to use my phone to find the phone number for the park office. Our county staffs our parks. During the summer months, they employ park rangers who have peace officer authority. I call the park ranger and tell him there's trouble up at this shady playground and they need to come right away. Sure enough, as I'm getting off the phone, Dolph returns with 2 of his meathead friends to tell me they are ejecting me from the park. No, you're not. And if you touch me, I'm calling the cops and pressing charges. No anger, no rage. With this promise of action, however, one of them kind of widens his eyes and steps back, saying to his friend, "Just leave them alone, man." This guy, for some reason, does not want the police coming, and it's very obvious. The ringleader won't back down, however, and tries his best to get in my face, scream, and yell. He grabs my arm, and I remove his hand. All of this just as I see the ranger pull up, yell for everyone to step back from one another and come over. This smug effer shoves the rental contract into the chest of the ranger, telling him that I'm trespassing and he rented this space for the day for his kid's party. Now, normally I don't like posturing by law enforcement, but here it was pretty amusing. "Ranger, touch me again and I'm arresting you." Reads contract. "This is for renting the pavilion. You have use of the pavilion, but the playground is open for public use." Hands it back. "Also, your permit doesn't allow you to set up bounce houses." "Where did you plug these in?" Ranger follows the extension cords and sees that they ran them to the nearby public bathrooms. There was an outdoor outlet. It was locked. The dude cut the lock off so he could plug in his crap. Ranger comes back with a broken lock. "Did you cut this lock?" It was like that when I found it." "Really? Because it was intact this morning." "So some random person cut this lock and you just happened upon it within the last 2 hours?" I guess." Long story short, he let them stay and let them keep the bounce house castles because he didn't want to ruin a kid's party. He wrote the guy a citation for the broken lock and the unauthorized power use and banned him from the park for the remainder of the season. After the party. Amazingly, this entire event was lost on my children who barely noticed anything was going on. Likely because of the compressor noise. That park ranger had good sympathy. He didn't want to ruin the kid's party, but he still punished the guy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.